So the first thing I do when I'm starting off a new student, hello, is I start off with the musical alphabet. So what I do is I tell my students to look at the clock. When you look at the clock, you notice it starts at 1, and it goes all the way up to 12, and then it goes back to 1 again. So with the musical alphabet, it starts at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then goes back to A again, like so. So since most of the time I have guitar students that are starting out, I have to teach them how to tune using this, because if the note says A, but the string is supposed to be G, I don't want them to go all the way up, causing them to put so much tension on the string that it breaks. So this teaches them that G is above, yes, but it's also below, and vice versa for all the rest of them. So then after we get the basics of how the letters are set up, then you would fill in the blanks of the D sharps and A sharps, etc., etc. So that gives you the 12 semitones in the Western music scale, just like the clock. So that's the first step, is walking them through that. Then after they get an understanding, I'll do, like, you know, quick quiz. Hey, if I want the string to be on B, but it reads C, should I go up or down? And then the answer is up, of course. And then as the student progresses, I can throw more tricky questions at them. But that's only if you're pertaining to guitar, really. If you're just teaching basic music understanding, then I wouldn't worry about that so much. Then I start with the symbols. I like to compare music symbols to money, because quarter note is 1 quarter, right? So we think of a $quarter. So if we think of a measure as being one whole dollar bill, it takes 4 quarters to fill the dollar bill. With the half note, that's like a $half. So it has the same spending power as 2 of these quarter notes. The trick is you have to strike it and then hold it for the amount of time that 2 of these would otherwise consume without breaking it. Then, you know, moving it on, and dotted half notes and whole notes, etc. Comparing them to coins a lot of times really helps with the kids. Then I introduce the treble clef on the staff. Starting with treble clef, then moving on to bass clef afterward. I start placing those symbols on either lines or spaces. I usually start with 2 of them first, and I'll say, you know, here we have this quarter note on G and this quarter note on D. And I ask them, would it make sense for this one to sound lower than this note, or for this one to sound higher than this note? And then I do a series of those so they can understand that the higher the note is placed on the staff, the higher the sound is going to be, which in turn relates to the higher pitch. So if you're relating this to a piano, it's going to be on the right-hand side. If you're relating this to the guitar, it's going to be further up the neck to the smaller frets, things like that. And that's how I get them to the basic understanding of how music is applied and how to break it up into measures. And then I'll introduce the bass clef after there's a good solid understanding. Then I tell them space face for treble clef, F, A, C, E. So I go space, face. Then for bass clef, because a lot of kids have trouble with the anagrams, space, face, and all cows eat grass, I always tell them, well, doesn't the bass clef look like a backwards C? And when I see the letter C, I think of cows. So cows, all cows eat grass. So we do A, C, E, G. And then after that, I would play little games, depending on the age. I'll take little quarter notes and I'll say, draw a quarter note on C, draw a quarter note on C on the treble clef, draw a whole note on E on the bass clef, you know, things like that. Starting with the spaces because they're easier to remember. Then after they get really solid with that, I teach them that it goes A, and then the lines are the missing letters. B, C, then D, E, F, G, and then referring back to the clock, what comes after G? A. So the top line is A. That's it.